to be able to come and have some more of the Word of God. Lord, speak to us. Speak to those that are watching tonight. And welcome all of them as well. We're just having a prayer, kind of a prayer welcome. And we ask you to bless this time because it's such an important topic. And so right behind me, we have the topic. And hi to all the people from the lounges, kitchens. Turn around and have a clap for them. Okay, clap for the guy up front. Yeah, that's cool. That's nice. See, a little bit of encouragement lifted me. Lift me up. Right. So that's real men, man up. Okay, we've got in there, no, Kiwis need. Kiwi men. I'm talking to men, but also the woman as well. This is a message I started yesterday morning at my church. And I believe it's one of the most important topics, the masculinity, the rise or the return of the masculinity that is going to be coming back to the man. Putting the masculinity back into the man. And you might be saying, well, why are we talking all about this for? Because there is a deceptive season. And it lasted for quite a long time as well. Excuse me. And what we saw there were some unbelievable things. So you can have a seat. And I'm going to read a couple of scriptures for you shortly, but we'll just wait. I want to talk about something that happened, two things, events. Donald Trump is one. His name's come up again. Why not? He's doing a great job, isn't he? Oh, yeah. Things have changing all the time. But the other big event is what only happened just over Saturday, just over 2 weeks, or week and a half. And that was down Ponsonby Road, Ponsonby Road. That's right. So there's more to it, and I want to talk about that. I'm just homing in. Yesterday morning, wasn't that something else? I thought it was brilliant. Should be in theological colleges all over the world because they don't know a lot of that. So I'll be touching on a bit of that from the beginning. But one of the things that we find with the re-election of Trump, and I'll use this word, storming. So Talaz every night means storming, right, back into the presidential office again, White House. Second time around. This time, this man has been developed by God. Now, I want to say this loud and clear to everybody, whether you're Christian or not. Trump, that's his testimony. That this time around, he knows that God has called him all his life for this moment. Being the President of the United States of America, the most powerful country in the world. He doesn't come from the political elite. He is not a career politician. He's from the outside as a businessman, having an up and down history, like most. But God brings him to the highest and most powerful place in the world to start to bring back to this world God's plan. And that is so awesome. But I want to hone on some things because why I'm saying that is if God has to make it loud and clear to the world and to the media and to those who are not a part of the Christian faith, He wants to make it loud and clear that I am using men who have my hand upon their lives to be in the future of politics. I didn't hear that. If God touches that man and makes it loud and clear by the assassination's bullet, he knows, he gets it. He knew then, he had a bit of a belief in God, but he said it was deepened and he realized the purpose. This is it. Why are you living? Why you exist? You not exist, why you live. We live because we have something to do on this planet. And thank God I'm a part of the greatest church I know, Destiny Church, New Zealand. It's a man's church. It's a man's church. Every woman should be glad. It's a man's church. I'm a man's man. But I want to talk some things about this because it's really important. So if God touches the most powerful, to be the most powerful president, the most powerful country, then would you not think that all other political systems and regimes in the world and countries would take some note? And that how he changed basically the world forever from what it was in about 2 weeks. Wow. 2 weeks of signing executive orders. He had so switched what we were looking like trapped in something very evil. I'm not just talking about silly or stupid people, or, who had no sense at all. And what happened to us, it not only bordered, it went over the top, and it was evil. There was pure evil, the way we were treated by governments. This is around the globe. But God intervenes at the right time. There's reasons. And I never ask why. I just want to know the next step for me and you. Is that right? And so I want to send this message clear. If it was good enough for God to use and make sure he knows him, the God of the Lord Jesus Christ, was not Allah or Baal or, Hindu. It wasn't atheism. It wasn't agnosticism, pantheism, or the many multi-gods and religions. God made sure that he understood it was Jesus Christ. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm not playing around anymore. You don't like me, you can hop off. What I'm talking about, I mean. Like me if you want, be better. But I'm not going to change about my faith. Some people are saying, I like what you're doing, but just get rid of the Jesus stuff. No, you can go for a hike. How dare you talk about my Lord like that? But I understand it's from ignorance. I'm a pretty good guy. I'd rather talk to somebody like that first to say, well, why don't you try? Have you ever tried? Why don't you ask him? I don't need to convince you. He will do the business. You know what I'm saying? And so this is really, it's important. It's radical. But it requires a radical response to a radical move by the enemy. Nothing can be done in the middle. The grey's gone. You're either for me or against me. You're either gathering or scattering. The day of fence sitting at ease on the couch, Christianity, or just every day what you used to do before, raised in comfort, raised in privilege, it's all been totally brought into upheaval. It's been broken apart. And now you have to choose a side. Are you with us or against us? Woo, I love it. This is the stuff. This is man talk. Everybody say man talk. That's right, it is. Now, Trump, one of the first executive orders of hundreds, written out in a matter of days, hundreds of executive orders, the president is able to then put into action an executive order which becomes law or legislation. Did you know the first one he tackled was there are only two genders? Two genders only. Now you mark that because why he was moved like that was of course mostly what we've seen around the world, that this plague, that's what it is, a spiritual plague, a very intense one, a vile one, and it is a very violent one. Went around the globe, but it's still here. It hasn't been beaten yet. In our country, we've got a big fight. They've doubled down. Our Prime Minister, I just looked at an OIA that came through a friend of mine and sent it to the Prime Minister's office. I got it here. And basically said, could you please do something about the puberty blockers that have been pumped into our kids at school, and it's going on rife, and it's the worst in the world. Dear Prime Minister, the Prime Minister answered, and I read it. He said, excuse me, I fully support the LGBTQI plus community, and therefore you have to understand that everything they do and that we protect the DEI and we protect them. See, everything I'm going to say today or tonight to you is what the enemy has twisted. He can't create. He doesn't have the ability to create. Satan and demons can't create. Only God creates. All he can do is counterfeit and copy by deception, by seduction. He will try and deceive you into believing something that is false, wrong, or corrupted, or evil. Right? So I'm gonna home in back here a little bit because I did it yesterday, and you've got to look at these things closely. If he was moved to tackle the two gender, you would have thought, see, Luxon would have gone for the economic one and looked at some taxes, or, we're going to up investments. And the first executive order I signed today is from investors from India and Pakistan and Egypt coming into our country quicker. Right? That's what he would have done. He's not going to touch the two genders, because you've got to have Christ in you to do that. The only time that I would know that any of those politicians would do it, if 3/4 of the nation hopped up and said, we're only voting for the next guy to be Prime Minister of this country who does two genders. You watch those snakes jump up and say, I'll do it. Seymour won't do that either, because his party, ACT Party's up to their eyeballs in LGBTQ, pride, all of that transgender ideology. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to get this clear out to you. Nationals up to their eyeballs deep in it. I tried to warn my country. 2 months leading up, I was strong in it. People will tell you. We went outside the National Party conferences, and I tried to say to you that Christopher Luxon and National are eyeballs deep, almost drowning in the whole rainbow, pride, LGBT, trans stuff. They were right in it. Nobody took any notice. So you Kiwis are getting some stuff here. You're getting what you do is you're getting payback. You get it. This is it, and he's unleashed it, and the real him's come out. Try to tell you about Seymour. He's another one who's masquerading. He cannot be it, and neither can Winston Peters. Man, I'm going to be straight up about this, because we're talking about something here. So he went straight to two genders. That should have got the attention of every politician in the world. Of all of the executive orders, and there's some buttes and some big ones, he hit that one straight away. He said two genders only. Wrote it in and put it there. Most of you would not say that's important. That's your problem. You're not giving attention to the right things that you should be. You're giving your attention to other things, and the lesser thing is the worst thing. And the pride parade and the whole LGBTQ thing is the most dangerous thing in New Zealand right now. Now, I'm going to just take you somewhere for a moment again, just to refresh you, because when he put that there and wrote that, it was dealing with an incredibly powerful spirit that basically it emancipated masculinity, castrated masculinity, killed masculinity. And you don't even know it, that the world got woke. That sent it broke. That's why your economies don't work, Mr. Luxon, and any other country. Australia's the same. We're both struggling because you're not dealing with this filthy spirit that has manipulated the genders and has emasculated our masculinity, has taken the man out of the male, and is trying to put a woman in the male. That's transgender ideology that has been pumped and pushed all around the world. It's taught in schools, libraries, drag kings and queens, you know. It's in high schools, tertiary education. It's in universities with all sorts of muck of Marxism and communism and all this trans ideology. I've got to say, you can't say, oh, enough of that. Do not do that. We have to deal with this in New Zealand, otherwise your children will be not only stolen away from you, and your grandchildren and great-grandchildren but our country will be lost to it. This is not a gay haven. Why we tolerate it? You've tolerated it, you get tired, we tolerate, you talk, you keyboard it, and then it just sits and you do something else and go to other news. It relies on you tolerating it by just talking about it and just keyboarding about it on social media, talking about it, all getting upset, but you do not do nothing about it, so it validates itself and continues to strengthen, and it's empowered even more to continue to not only do what it's doing now, but to actually go deeper levels of destruction. And that's what we see in New Zealand. Don't worry, I got a plan out of this. I have a solution. I have a solution. A man with a plan. All right, but I got to wait for a moment. Genesis chapter 1, I read this over here. Here is the whole gender theology. That's how I'll put it. The theological view is the only view. If you don't have God and gender, then you are deceived. And God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Right there, God made a man. He created Adam, a man. Masculinity, right? God is a man, male. I said this yesterday, and it's in the scriptures. God is a man. He's called a man many times. He's never called a mother. He's not a woman. You can't feminize God. I'll explain some things soon so that, you know, this is God's order. Say God's order. God's order. Oh, okay, yeah. So like order, if you don't do it with the order of God, it's not going to work. Man's too arrogant and smart. Remember the apostles facing up to the councils and all of the political powers of Rome, and they were trying to tell them what they should talk about and what they should be learning. And these guys said, who should we obey? God or man? And he said, we will obey God, not man. Man, that's powerful, right? Now, he says, he makes in the image and the likeness of himself, he creates a man. And God made man a male. Now, I said yesterday, and I'll go quick, that man was made first because he was the guardian, the caretaker of the garden, and it was going to be more than what he thought. But God had a time frame between creating the man and then making the woman. She came after, as we saw. And a lot of Christians don't see that. Even though he says male and female, he made them, he made man first. And what he was doing is making sure that everything in creation knew the order and authority of God. So I want to tell you something, boys. Men, everything begins with you and ends with you. You are the guardian, the gatekeeper. You are the one who protects, provides, and procreates. A woman who was going to come later would be the vessel to help with all three. But the only one she probably couldn't really do was the first one, was to protect. Now, if Adam had been fulfilling his role of protecting his family, boy, I'm saying things here, to protect his wife and to nurture, to love, bless, remember, dress her and caress her. That's the three things I say that you have to do. Now, when he was in the garden, God said, you are to protect. You are the guardian of it. So he protects everything, and he had the authority and power to make sure that that would stay protected, he'd be provided for, and he could procreate. He let man have that little time of authority to sink in that I've given you everything in this garden, but don't touch that tree. He's testing obedience. Adam understood. Don't touch the tithe, right? You have the 90, I'll have the 10%. That's good, eh? Right? That tree's mine. You can have the other 90% pear trees and apples, and not that one. That's a principle. That establishes in the spirit world that you are very clear about God's authority and the gender. You see, you'll never get sucked into the gender thing if you understand what I'm saying today. And then when he wanted to create the woman, he said to Adam, you're not good by yourself. You need help. Right? We got that far, right? You realize you needed help. So I'm going to bring somebody that's commensurate to you, that you'll be able to live with, procreate with, and she's going to be a helper to you to make you all that you should be and keep you well, so that you can then put your blessings on her life and she will bless your life, thereby releasing each other's full potential, that the two become one. Right? Now, what happened was God said, I'm not going to create her out of the ground like I did with you. I'm going to put you to sleep. And then I'm going to take her out of you by taking a rib. Isn't that amazing? So God does not take the woman or creates her from the earth, only the man. But for the woman, he takes it from the man. He takes a rib. And he takes the woman out of the man. The Bible says, I think it's in Genesis chapter 2, verse 21, he takes the rib out and he creates the woman out of what man is. And then it says it closes the side of his rib up, so there can never be a woman trapped inside a man's body. Good? All right? And there can never be a man in a woman's body. Closes it up and says there can never be any gender confusion. Right? The man cannot have a woman or effeminate or feminized traits in his life. He closed it up, took it out, so it was separated from him. He is a man. She is a woman, female, male. Testosterone is the stuff that makes him the man, right? That gives him the qualities of strength, of being able to take care, to guard, to provide, hunt, gather, look after his family. He would have the ability to be able to be the authority and to deal with whatever would come to threaten his family, his faith, his future, and his flag or his country. Right? You get me? So in that, he was basically invincible. The only thing he said, obey me. Don't touch the tree. Now the rest is history. She did, Eve touched it and he came along and they fell into it. That's when it went wrong. Now, I think I needed to say that because it was important for us today to understand that God made the genders very clear. There is only two genders. So that means all the things that we're fighting with today, we talk about the trans stuff that happened, and I want to go back and I'll take that and leave that there for you. I want to take you back to the weekend that happened on the Saturday, because that was an absolute moment in this country's history. You don't realize it, but it was. We didn't know. Kind of stumbled into God's purpose. We did that day, that afternoon, Talar, and you other guys that were in that, all the people who won't name, look, point fingers, right? Doesn't matter, I don't care really. What happened that day was bigger than you think. A few weeks before that, or a couple of months I think it was, we were holding a protest coming down the main road. Remember, we had the haka on the main road. What I wanted to do was it was all about leading up to something. Sometimes you don't realise, but there's a method to my madness. I wanted to design a T-shirt, and I knew what needed to be put on it. I said, you've got to put real men. It's kind of, I just so love my church. Nobody questioned me about that. Say, oh, you can't put that on us. We're doing it. Okay, real men. Well, yeah, you can. There was a reason. But I didn't know that when it was coming. And so we had the real men. Why would I have to put a T-shirt where it's a billboard with real men on it? Because the earth was running out of real men. What was insidious about the spirit that we're talking about, don't just look at the community and say, oh, don't blame them, Brian. No, they're just vehicles for carrying a very underground, insidious, deceptive, foul spirit that gets around the globe very quickly and begins to wreck the masculinity of men. That's how woke came. Woke didn't come and the masculinity was taken away. It's when men lost their manliness. And you might say, did we? Yes, you did. Do you want me to show you how or why? I will. When a woman hopped up in this nation, a woman who started to assert her gender authority. Right? You got it? No. What she did was that she stood in the vile position of rubbing it in God's nose that I'm a woman, but I'm going to act like a man and be a man, have manly. I'm not only equal with men, I'm better than men. That's what she had, Jacinda Ardern. Her whole thing was, her arrogance was that she was far higher than the authority that God had put in. It was a snub. This was a direct attack and an insult to God himself about clearly known that the gender and the order of that gender he had made. She opened the gates wide up to allow the whole gender ideology to proliferate in this country and get so strong it's still here deep in our communities. It's deep in Parliament. Our whole Parliament is awash with it. It's in our schools around the country. It's on our streets and big parades, as you know. It's in companies. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is still working in companies today. There are letters sent by banks are sending letters to the employees, saying about the DEI stuff. Here it is. You've got to abide by this. They're still strong-arming this stuff in this country. Why? Why New Zealand? Other countries haven't, because this is quite pronounced. Because I'll tell you why. What happened out on that road, and I'll tell you what happened. So when I say plan, my way of working is I just flow, and it doesn't always come down on paper. I'm walking and I'm flowing. That's my method of working with God. That I suddenly knew that the boys had to do something radical. They have to do something radical. Sometimes you have to be controversial to create conversation. Controversy would have to get into the conversation of the many. They're watching, you see. Here, all these people watch. They knew what I was talking about today. Masculinity came out this morning. What's the Herald doing stories about masculinity? An hour ago they put one up about masculinity. Then it comes up on there, so they're watching what I'm doing. They know. That's the trouble. Sometimes the enemy knows more than the church, the Christians. But I know more than them. That's the main thing. No devil's going to know more than me. To hell. And you should have the same attitude. There, I'm teaching you something right now. Do not think that you are behind the 8 ball. And even if you don't know, act like you do. Scare the devil by saying, I know what you got up to, even if you don't. Right? You touch me or come around my family, I'll hammer you. Then carry on with your life. You scare them. See, weakness is that when you don't have any awareness, and it keeps you docile. That's why I talk like this. I talk strong. People say, he's yelling. I'm not yelling. That's my usual strong man talk. See, you're so used to having a presenter, a TV presenter, a weak politician. I'd like to say, Mr. Speaker, that today we want to table puberty blockers. Yeah, that's what you're used to that damn talk. Sorry. I don't talk like that. A man talks. A man doesn't go, can you help me, honey? He's grunting. You hop up, you fly out of the chair, and say it's done. See, the emancipation, the great emancipation of masculinity happened a long time ago. And it made men weak and spineless. So when a woman hops up with a big red lipstick and a smile and says, be kind to one another, I'm going to lock you down. How many men stood up and said, oh, hold on a moment, I want to check that out, girl? Not one. We all raced for our rooms and houses. I can understand the first time. Even I thought there might have been something you stick your head out the window and you're going to get killed, That's how they made it, put the fear. But then I soon shook off the fear, spirit of fear, very quickly. Tell my wife early in the piece, God did not give me a spirit of fear. I don't like the way, it wasn't about I don't have a clue about the pandemic, all the vaccinations. I was aiming for the spirit coming out of that woman's mouth. That's what I was picking up. And I was picking up there was a really bad devil in there. I was right. But nobody would touch her. Oh my God, you guys were worshiping her. Out there, not you. No, worshiping it. Boy, and if you touched it, your head off. When the shooting happened and the massacre in Christchurch with the Muslim people, that was shocking. That's never should happen in our country. An Australian hitman coming over to kill immigrants. All happened in our country in New Zealand. We had nothing to do with it as New Zealanders, but we took the brunt of it. Now, I remember that woman putting a turban, a hijab on, isn't it? Wrapping her hair up and then going and sympathizing with it. And then the creepy spirit, I didn't like that. But the next thing, because everybody didn't want to say a thing. Nobody wanted to say, that was bad. It was bad. Everybody was in mourning. And then, okay, I leave that. Then I said, what's my Prime Minister doing wearing an Islamic clothing? But the next step is what I took umbrage to. She then invited an imam, right, a Muslim imam, into Parliament to pray his prayer, which has and contains the elements of, right, in that prayer, that Allah is God. So I got on my phone, I thought, nobody would dare do anything like that, but I had to tweet something. I said, hi, New Zealand, for a whole day today, you're going to turn into a Muslim country. How do you like that? And Imam's prayed in our parliament a prayer that Allah is God. And then I pushed it out. Man, I got thousands of people. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Thousands of men telling me, I agree with you, I agree with you. This is what I'm talking about. The man, the masculine man. A man has to have courage to retain the masculinity that feeds. Masculinity feeds on courage, right? Feeds on courage, feeds on strength. It feeds on the actual belief that that man knows not just being a good man, but being a man is important. That's what stimulates the courage. That Testosterone is produced because you're a male. I hope someone's listening. But being a man, you can be a good man, but not necessarily being a man. Well, you can be a man doing man things and doing that, but not a good man. But the difference is that a man feeds his masculinity with courage. One thing a woman doesn't want is a wimp. She does not want a wimp or a gimp. There's a difference between a gimp and a wimp, right? And I'm not going to explain it now because you can just, translate it yourself. You know. What woman wants her man to be idle and not look after and protect her and her children and our grandchildren? For all the imperfections that man might have, he's got to have one. He's got to have the courage to stand up and protect them, protect his kids, protect his family. Protect means there is a perimeter I'm setting up here, and it's my home. And some things can come in and some things can't. Some things happen in this house and other things don't happen in this house. There's a woman and a man and a marriage and this sort of thing. We are both functioning in our roles properly. Therefore, there's no misunderstandings. There's no dehumanizing or demuscling the man when the woman starts to wear the pants. I said this yesterday. Man, you okay out there? But I'm saying, because we always joke about it, and we do. And as a thing, Hannah does all of they're usually good at financing. They make all the schedules, they do the time, they do all this sort of stuff. There's a lot of things, guys, that you can give away, you can delegate to the wife and to the eldest daughter. It's always the girls that got the quicker on it, But you have to have leadership. As long as you lead and you're courageous in your leadership. So let me tell you, how many men in this country over the time of COVID and before, during and after, and now your country has been stolen from you, and we are basically plagued with the LGBT community. Transgenderism is attacking your children, and I've been out there on a number of occasions, and Destiny Church is a ManUp church. It is a masculine church. Thank God you got Destiny Church in your country, because I'm going to be straight with you, quite frank. I haven't seen many others actually physically take the masculinity that you've got, and that courage moves you to say, I don't go to your church. I don't believe half the things you say, Brian, but I recognize that you're a damn man, and that's missing in this country. And these wokey, weak leaders we keep putting there, has to stop. So I'm coming out on the road today, bringing my family or bringing my sons and my daughters and my wife, so we can experience, so they can see that their dad, their husband, and whatever else, he's a man. A man has to move to do something. You can't fight from your couch all the time. You cannot fight on your laptop or on social media. That's not fighting for your family. That's not fighting for your future. That's not fighting for our flag, our country. Sometimes you have to physically move yourself to show yourself that I'm a man. And a man stands. A man speaks up. A man is seen. He's not silent. He's leading his children. He's leading his daughters. He's protecting them. There needed to be protection in this country. And when we stood up that day on Saturday, we smashed the biggest woke, weak, spineless, transgender ideology and all of this horrible stuff that was targeting your kids, targeting our schools. They were out on the street building in numbers and strength because there was nothing to front up to them and to say to them, enough is enough. Now, I'll show you some men, young men, that went out there that day. They had the guts to follow what I said to them, because I had my dad die and I couldn't be there. I would have been there, right? I'd have been right there. But I couldn't. But it was great the way that you could pass on. Wouldn't some of these politicians like leadership like that? Who can move a platoon of men? Mm-hmm. We ain't got an army, but we've got a pretty good one here across the country. ManUp and legs. I can text, I can move with a call, and it's a call, not an order or some type of cult, you idiot. It's because we have a love relationship, respect each other, because they've been saved from all sorts of horrible stuff in their past and their life. God has brought them out. He's brought us together. And now we care about our country. We care about our kids. We care about our future. We care about our economy. We care about you. And so we will fight not just for our kids, we're fighting for your kids. I want to protect your families. I want to protect my country. I don't want China to invade it. I don't want Russia to invade it. I don't want anybody else to invade my country. Not transgender, not people who are going to abuse and use my country. I want New Zealand to be looked after, so Kiwis got to be looked after first. So you have to be a man to say that. You have to be a man to do that. Well, so what happened out there, it was a huge show of masculinity in my young men and some of the others that weren't so young that were there, dads, and there's some grandfathers there as well, and the ladies and people that were supporting. It wasn't just young ones, but they were at the front line. And when they went up to Ponsonby Road, where they were all poncing, that's what we're talking about. You see, Jesus said, "What did you go out to see?" That's my text yesterday. And there, he said, "Did you go out to see a reed that can be bent over easily by the wind?" When you're talking about a certain Christianity, did you go out there to see a weak Christianity? Did you thought you were going to see a Christianity that was all pompous, pious, and all pontificating, all dressed up in robes and had all of this stuff? Oh no, you met a rugged man who was irreligious, who had no binds to the traditions. He was not a soft Christian. John the Baptist was Elijah, if you can receive it, Jesus. He was Elijah. Oh, I got to hop over there in a moment. So, what you saw up there was no Christians. I make a mistake. There was some churches, but they were marching in the pride parade. I got a picture. Okay. Oh, there it is there. Those are Christians. Pitt Methodist Church, welcome everybody. And my old friend over here, he's a professor at university. See these universities? That there is Mr., do you know his name? Peter Linehan. Peter Linehan has wrote a book about me. He's made money off my ministry and put it out. It's actually not a bad thing there, but it's full of rubbish, you know. So that's Christians. That's what I'm talking about. Please, if you're watching here, there's the church too, along with their police force. The police force are also poncing along on there. Here they are. This is the police force. Should our police force be marching? I mean, okay, if you want to support the thing behind closed doors or something, but putting our police in the public, open public, with all of these people who are transing, I'm telling you right now, this is evil. This is wrong for the police force to be mixing, not only mixing, some of them are actually transgender. There's a transgender police officer there called Rona Stace at the Auckland Central. She's there. Or he, as a she. It's a transgender. There's a he. He is a she. Rona. I don't. I mean, look at this. What on our main street? So I want you to show the last one too, Jen, if you got it as well. Is that it? Oh, okay. No, I see enough there. It doesn't matter. Let me tell you something. When we stood, it was nothing to do with that. the whole parade was not the feature. The feature was real men showing up in the middle of it. That was the feature. That's why you had such a, they call it a backlash. Or backlash it was a huge manifestation. It's one of the best manifestations I've seen for a long time. At all sorts of levels. At all sorts of levels. You've got to be deaf, dumb and blind not to see that what was happening here was a whole breach into, it was like dropping an atomic bomb into the camp, right in the middle of the camp. Now, how can 60 million people and more around the world celebrate it? Now, I'm going to tell you some things that I saw when they saw these men, and there was quite a number of them who said, what is this? Like, look at these guys. This is one of them. This is more than one. There's most like this on this way. Look at them. Oh, they've held up a pride parade. See? Because not many people do that. Not even men. Men don't go up and won't do that. See, I'm talking now about your masculinity that was taken from you. I'm going to bring it back to you tonight, right now. See, you might be saying, oh, you're talking up through your... No, going to the pub or having a few beers with your mates, playing rugby or doing your business and going from back and forth, that doesn't make you what I'm talking about as a man. Your masculinity was not there, because if your masculinity was there, you would have stood to protect your family from this filth. You would have stood to protect your kids from being targeted by groomers who are calling themselves drag queens and drag kings. You would have stood against this parliament that now is doing legislations that are evil. You would have stood a long time ago against what they were saying about Islam now being the faith that these guys are pushing. You'd have done something a long time ago with what they're doing, building mosques and temples all over our nation, spending millions and millions of dollars of your hard-earned money on funding all of the stuff that I'm talking about and a lot more, and having this creepy stuff happen. The reason why they get away with it, because your masculinity was stripped away from you, my brother. Because if you had masculinity operating, you would have stood up with me. You would have came out and you said, I'm protecting my family, and I'm protecting my kids, and I'm protecting the school, and I'm protecting my future. Then that man walks up. That's the man. God said to Adam, you would protect your family. You did not protect this family. You did not protect this country. You did not protect our livelihood. Nobody can stand up to a man who is the father, the daddy of the family. Dads is the greatest authority. Father, mum, grandfather, great-grandfathers, that's the ultimate authority in the earth. Not some Dumbo you and I voted in there and is failing us. He's out. He's not the authority over your family. The government is not the father and mother of your family. They are certainly not what we rely on or depend on for our future. They have broken our promises. They've broken our future. They have damaged our country. So you get what I'm saying. The only reason they continue to do this, because the man must man up. Right, pretty good. Did you see the reactions? The first people to come out to attack us. Can you imagine this? Like, we're not drug dealers. We weren't murderers. We weren't stealing from anybody. We weren't rapists. And the accusations of violence, what? If that was the little argy-bargy shoulders up the stairs because there was a drag king up there with 30 kids locked in a room, they should have been more concerned about that than a few of my guys just pushing their way up there. What a lot of woke, weak, wicked stuff that went down when you allowed the criticism and when you allowed the media and the whole political institution. Some of you attacked back. I know some keyboards were going hot. People were spreading news across, talking. But there was hardly any visibility or sign of a man. We went out there, these men should have all got medals the next day. the whole country should have come down to Ponsonby the next day, had a parade for these men. Real men. So around the world, 70 or 80, 60, 70 million people are going, wow, there's some men. And they're laughing, wow, my gosh, they got real men on their T-shirt. And they got ManUp on there. They didn't know ManUp was a movement that helps men be men. They just saw ManUp and they saw real men, and they were clapping and jumping. Some of them were leaping up. Finally, there's somebody in this world that stood up to this rubbish, and that was from London and come around to America and through Europe and South America and Africa and Australia. All over the world they were going, yes, yes. Except right in our own home backyard. They were tearing the guts out of some very brave young men and women who stood up to the wickedness in this country, who became men, just like that. Young men who became fully grown men. Men, masculine. One of them even said, most of them said, that's masculinity right there. That's what we're looking for. A huge influencer. Now they want to come down here and meet us. Because it's rare to see men stand up like that against something so wicked. So yes, the real man was, I wanted to put that out there because I was tired of mainstream media not getting the narrative out there that there is some men still in this country. And you're probably one of them I'm talking to. There's a lot of good men out there. I'm meeting men everywhere. I met some just recently, and I've met them, way back there, and I'm meeting them like right up till today. I am saying to them now, real men stand up. And I had somebody say to me just even today about what I was doing, and I said, I really need you. Could you come with me next time? I will, right up the front, bring you. He said, you know what? I'm ready for it. It was at Mitre 10. Mitre 10, a guy just came up to me. And he said, I'm ready to do this. I said, do what? He said, I want to come and stand with you. And I said, that's the man. And no sooner I'd gone down the next aisle, and another guy came up. And he said, I want to shake your hand. I'm telling you the truth. He works here too. I said, why don't you guys wear your T-shirt? I was just pulling your legs out. Yeah, they'll sack you. Then you can sue them. But he said he wants to come too. I said, well, you know what to do? He said, no, I want to stand with you. See, masculinity is coming back. The fear, the scared, the hiding. That's not a man. A man does not hide. That's what Adam did when he knew he did not be a man in the garden. When he wasn't a man in the garden, he hid in the garden. And God said, where are you, Adam? Why are you hiding? God knew where he was. He was under a blackberry bush. He said, come out, Adam. Came out. See, look at this. God doesn't really want to hurt him. He wants to say, you know what? All you had to do was be a man. Be a man. Be the man that's in you, and you would have saved the whole earth a whole lot of trouble if the man had stood up and said something to what was happening. All you had to do was stand up and say, hey, drop the pear, babe. If you'd have stood up and said something, he stood up, but he didn't say something. And his masculinity let him down, and he was feminized because the woman took over. And she said, eat, my husband. It's good. And he knew. It wasn't her fault. It was testing him. It was testing his manhood. It was testing his authority. Would he be the man that God wanted him to be? He didn't. He didn't speak up. He didn't speak up. He didn't speak up. He didn't say anything. He did not speak up. He did not speak up. He didn't speak up. Oh, okay, so they both did. Now, when it came for accountability time, he blamed her. It was her. I'm still a man, but it was her. No, you're not. You're blaming your wife? What sort of person drops a wife? The woman said, wow, thanks a lot, Adam. You didn't protect me. You're blaming me. And he went to the woman, is this true? She said, no, it was the snake in the tree there. Blame shifting still happens today. It's no good. If there's a problem, it always comes back to the man. Back to the man. But she, no, brother, you don't do that. Even if it was her, you're the man. From there, I've got to say to you, it's been a struggle ever since for preventing masculinity being feminized. I want to come to a point where I just want to finish off this little session. It was pretty strong on the middle part there. I admit, you might have turned off. Well, it's probably because you're infected with woke. Because a good man would be attracted to me. Men follow good manly warrior leaders. You don't want to be woke all your life, going from your couch to your job to your business, whatever, and coming back and moaning and groaning that Luxon's not it and you're going to put Seymour in. See, that's not a man. You're voting for the same wrong things and you're not being a man taking a risk. Real men will take a risk and say, I don't think I'll vote for Labour, for National, for Winston, or for Seymour, and not the Māori Party, and definitely not the Greens. And you'll be saying, you don't need to say what's left. You know what's left. See, that's the risk. Because there are plenty of good men, real men, who could do a far better job than what they're doing. Right? Yeah. That's all it needs. You've got to take a risk. You've got to live walking by instinct sometimes. And the man has the instinct. God gives you something inside of you that will lead your family and that you will bless your family if you be a man. I want you to put that scripture up, please, Saloti, the one in 1 Samuel chapter 4. This is an interesting one. I think it's about 9. Now, these are the Philistines, right? The Philistines are the enemy. So this is not even Israel, who's supposed to always win because they got God for them, right? But this is the enemy. So what the enemy is facing, look at the verse before that. Go to verse 8. Woe to us, they're saying. Who will deliver us from the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods who struck the Egyptians. So they're calling them these mighty gods, and they are more in awe of the goodies that are supposed to win their gods than they are themselves. You got this? It's like you guys have got the real God, but all those other wrong ones are doing more action. Like, we don't have a Christian month. And we all march down the street for a month and we're all doing these reading in libraries about Jesus Christ and how he loves all the children. And then we go and do they even have now Gay Dog Day. Yeah. See this, I'll show you. There it is. I thought I'd give you, look like you're going to sleep on me. See this, Gay Dog Day. You're out there, can you hear me? I'm not joking, man. I need some men. I need some men. Look at this. They're getting at our dogs. So there's on Ponsonby Road again. So they got these, woof, woof. Did you see that best dressed? I mean, you're all going to go, oh, that's kind of cute, Brian. You know. Well, it's not the dog's fault. They're not gay. I guarantee the little dog's a male. He's gonna. They can't. He's gonna know what to do. He's a man. Even a dog knows he's a man. You go like, I'm not going to jump on another dog and root it. I'm going to go to the female.
Kia ora koutou katoa. It is Buckwheat here, and I am delighted to be one of the judges at Wolf, the dog show. That's happening on Sunday, the 9th of March at 1 p.m. at the bottom of Western Park. If you don't have a dog, don't worry. Come along and see me. I know lots of dogs I can give you. One of them is Stephen Oates, just quietly. So come down and see us 1 o'clock, Sunday, the 9th of March down at Western Park. Come down and see me and some other fabulous judges and see some fantastic dogs. Woof is where you want to be on Sunday the 9th. See you there.
Carl, oh, no. That's a new way of infiltration. Isn't it? You think? I mean, I know I'm here trying to say to men, we need to man up because, like, it doesn't get any. They're not dropping off; they're getting worse. I mean, we saw a professor of the university come out the other day and in front of a whole crowd of all sorts of gay, lesbian, trans, and he, right? It's a him, but it's a her. She's Dr. Emily Rakiti, and he gets a jug full of estrogen. Estrogen is the female hormone, and chugs it down in front of everybody. I'm talking about masculinity. The topic's masculinity. He's a man chugging a whole jug of woman's hormone to make the man more feminine. You think this is not a topic that should be talked about? It's hot as. And then you've got a Prime Minister who puts on an OIA just today, and brought it out and says himself, we are in full support of all this. That's your Prime Minister. We're going to need 100,000 men and women, mums and children, stand up and down this country from every town and every city across New Zealand. We'll choose a day when we'll all stand together and we'll put it through social media. It'll be picked up 100,000 people who will be saying, we do not want this to go on any further. This government, this political system is rotten. Our parliament is sick. So how can you have a healthy nation if you've got a sick parliament? You are hindering us. And so we need to stand to get honest, good people in there. We need to clean it out. It's going to keep getting worse, but it brings it to that point. Are you going to be a man? Are we going to stand up for what we treasure most and believe is our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren? They've been targeted. They haven't had a fair go in this whole woke climate. And the weakness of our politicians is leading our country into a place where we will be slaves to the Chinese, we'll be slaves to other countries and other foreign interests that will invade us, whether it's economically or by military power. Unless the men of this country stand up together and do something, then it's going to totally strangle the potential of our future. Right? Got a wink from my wife? Hi, Hannah? All right. That'll be that. I'm going to pray and ask you to stand with me. Interesting? Nehemiah chapter 4, you can just stick that up before I pray. You can have a look at that verse. You know that one well. And here, do not be afraid of them. And I'll share this for those outside. It's in the Bible, but you'll like this. It's pretty good. Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord great and awesome. And fight for your brothers. That's cool. Fight for your brothers. Brothers, we're all brothers when it comes to fighting a common enemy in this country. Fight for your sons. Fight for your daughters. Fight for your wives. And fight for your home, your houses. This is pretty strong, eh? I want to encourage you now, get a hold of us. Do something. Get your friends and say, hey, why don't we join the ManUp movement? Get a hold of Brian Tamaki. Get a hold of Kane. Get a hold of Tala. Get a hold of the boys here. Get a hold of the church and say, hey, I want to join what you're doing. I do want to stand up. I want to be counted that I have to do something to be seen to bring about the change we need. I really would welcome that. Well, could you? I won't bite you. I think we'll get on quite well. I really believe that most people agree with what we're saying. Something has to happen. Trump changed it. We can change it too. We don't need to put up with this. All right, so I'm going to bless you and ask God to put his hand upon your family and upon your life. But I want to pray for all the men in this room, watching now, wherever you are, every man particularly today. This is a night that we're raising again the issue that true masculinity, real men can be men. I don't care what Hipkins said, try to define to me what a real man is. He can't define what a woman is. And he still doesn't know today. Mr. Luxon, he's just so weak that he doesn't know what he is either. He says, we have to give an example of it. It has to be seen. Will you stand? We'll make a time, sometime in the future, where we can all do this and have the world know, and America and Trump don't need to think that this country is full of wokey, weak people. All right? So thank you very much for watching tonight. Thank you very much for being here. And you can go home now and enjoy yourself. Just tell yourself, man up. Man, keep the man thing going. Keep strong. I am proud of our men in this movement. And I want to say to all the men in Destiny Church, particularly, ladies, you can vouch that for me, that I'm proud of every Destiny man in this movement. Thank you for standing. Thank you for being here. Amen. Bye-bye. Thank you.